Welcome everyone to our second celebration with our Hispanic heroes during our Power Hour. We are so excited to be launching this initiative with our celebration for Hispanic Heritage Month this year. And we're so very excited to be sitting here with the Honorable EJ Salcines. Before we let Mr. Salcines talk to our audience, I want to just give everybody a little bit of information regarding what Power Hour is. So what is Power Hour? Power Hour is an initiative that is designed by Hillsborough County Public Schools to provide parents the opportunity to learn and acquire necessary tools and skills to support their students academically, socially, and emotionally, while also building the cornerstone to a healthier and safe community. So thank you so much for being with us today. What I'd like to do at this time is, we've gone through that. This is EJ Salcines, our wonderful honorable guest speaker, oral historian, and retired judge. I'm gonna give a little bit of an introduction. EJ Salcines is a native of West Tampa and son of immigrants from Spain. Judge EJ Salcines is widely admired for his career of more than 50 years in the administration of justice, and also for the breadth of his knowledge of our local history. A graduate of Florida Southern College and South Texas College of Law, Judge Salcines was an elected prosecuting attorney for 16 years, first as county solicitor and then as state attorney. In those years, he broke barriers by hiring the first African-American, the first disabled, and the first female assistant state attorneys. From the ranks of his state attorney's office have come 42 federal and state judges, a member of Congress, 2 state attorneys, and 2 chief judges, and a president of the Florida Bar. In 1998, Mr. Salcines was appointed judge to the 2nd District Court of Appeal by Governor Lawton Childs, serving 10 years until age-mandated retirement and 5 years as senior judge. His numerous awards include a knighthood from the King of Spain, the 2008 Champion of Justice Award from the Tampa Bay Trial Lawyers, the Lifetime Achievement Award from the Florida Prosecuting Attorneys Association, and in 2021, the Florida Bar Foundation honored him with its highest award, the Medal of Honor. A recognized scholar, author, educator, and esteemed local historian, Judge Salcines is Tampa's man for all seasons. Thank you so much, Judge Salcines, for being here with us today. We would love for you to focus today on sharing with our community, with our students and teachers, your wonderful Hispanic heritage story. And so I'd like to ask you, tell us about your heritage. What does it mean to you? And how do you think it's shaped your place in the world?
Well, I'm very proud to be the son of immigrants who came as teenagers to this great country from Spain. They passed on some wonderful lessons to me, especially teaching me their native language, teaching me about their culture, teaching me about the literature and the heroes that they had studied about. My parents did not have an extensive education. When they arrived here, they certainly knew how to read and write, but I was the first in my family to go to high school. I was the first in my family to go to college. I was the first in my family to acquire a law degree. Certainly no one in my family had ever been a public official, never elected by the people. So I have enjoyed a great benefit that my parents gave me from a very early age. And that is based on our heritage, what our parents have passed on to us. I didn't have the benefit of grandparents because the grandparents had died in Spain, but I learned from a lot of people, and my background helped me very much as I developed as a student, as a citizen, as a lawyer, as a public official. So my heritage, that which comes to me through my DNA, through my bloodlines, through the pride that my parents passed on to me, has certainly helped me in my development as a person, as a citizen, and above all, being very proud of being an American.
Thank you so much. They tell us that you are the oral historian for Tampa history and Hispanics in our local Tampa Bay community. What can you tell us? And you have as much time as you'd like to share what you think are some critical points for our students to hear.
Tampa has a very rich Hispanic, a very rich Latino heritage. For more than 130 years, Spanish-speaking people have been coming to Tampa. The Spanish-speaking people brought the major industry to Tampa, which was the cigar factories. The cigar factories were the most important business that we had in Tampa for more than 50 years. As a result, those Latino factories were the ones that were producing the quantity of money that the employees needed to buy a home, buy a car, send their children to school, send their children to college. So Tampa has a very rich, multicultural, multilingual, multifaceted, multiracial environment. We learned early on in Tampa, we had so many different nationalities, so many different religions and cultures that we learned how to live with each other and respect each other. We were taught early on, treat others like you want to be treated. So we treated them with respect, and they in turn respected us. We got along, we worked very well. Tampa is known as a very tolerable, multicultural community. So very early, you learn right and wrong. You learn to live within the parameters of law and order. You respect people, you respect the law.
Thank you. Can you tell us a little bit about those early Hispanic families that arrived in Tampa as part of that industry?
Certainly. Tampa was a small fishing town with no more than 750 people. And then three great things happened. One, the arrival of the railroad, which Mr. Henry B. Plant brought to Tampa. And almost simultaneously, cigar manufacturers from Key West and from New York came to look at this Tampa town. And they said, let's bring our factories here. So Tampa did not become a company town. Tampa really became an industry town because many cigar factories came here with the cigar industry. So that brought a lot of money, a lot of people, and there was a time that there was almost as much Spanish being spoken in the streets of Tampa as there was English speaking. So there was a bilingual, a bicultural attachment and understanding. Also, the port of Tampa needed to be made deeper for bigger boats, for bigger industry material to come and go, for cargo, etc. And all of a sudden, they discovered a shiny thing as they were dredging. When they examined, they discovered that it was phosphate. So phosphate then started becoming a most important industry here with the cigar industry, but the deepening of the port made the port of Tampa a very important port. And then when they opened up the Panama Canal, the port of Tampa was the closest American port to that important Panama Canal. So all of these things combined makes Tampa a cosmopolitan, a very mixed group of Americans who've made America better.
That's amazing. I think that for many of our Hispanic students, they really like to hear stories about their ancestry, local ancestry, right? And what their place is and how their families have participated. Tell us a little bit about your profession, how you chose your profession, and how your experience was as one of the very few Latino judges that existed in your time.
I must tell you that the first idea that I had of becoming a lawyer came at a very early age. I used to shine shoes up and down Howard Avenue on Saturdays to make some dimes and quarters so that I could go to the movie on Saturday afternoons. One gentleman, while I was shining his shoes, was asking me questions about school and did I like school and what courses did I like. And then he said, "Young man, you should study to be a lawyer." Well, that was a little seed that he planted in my mind, and I started developing. I wonder what lawyers do. I wonder how you become a lawyer. What happens once you become a lawyer? Never thinking that someday I would not only be a lawyer, that I would be the prosecuting attorney, and that I would end my career as a judge of the appellate court. So early on, that interest of law started developing in my mind. I was always better in the history class, in geography, in the social sciences than I was, say, in physics or in chemistry. So I started developing more in the letters than in the sciences. When I went to college, the teachers quickly recognized where my strengths were and they guided me. And then, of course, I was focused. After college, I'm going to go to law school. I had thought of maybe becoming a diplomat because I could speak Spanish as easily as I could speak English. And I said, I bet you that if I became a diplomat, an ambassador, a consul, some representative of the US State Department, that might be an interesting career. But the closer that I came to law school decision making, I said, no, I'm going to follow the lawyer path. And maybe in the future, I may go work for the State Department, but I'm going to become a lawyer first. So I took the Texas bar exam where I had studied law. Then I took the Florida bar exam and I passed both of them.
Wow, amazing, amazing. And so one of our other things that we'd like to leave our students with is what inspires you and what motivational thought or perspective would you like to leave our youth with?
Well, I get inspired because I deal with a lot of young people. For instance, as a judge, many young lawyers are graduating from law school, and I have to administer the oath as an attorney. I always urge them to do some time period of public service. I certainly benefited much from my public service. So I always tell young people and lawyers particularly that all of us as citizens of this great country owe a debt of service that we have to pay back. Freedom is not for free. We must contribute every day as good citizens with good citizenship. And that means serving your community, serving your county, serving the state, serving the nation in some capacity. So it's important that we remember that if we're going to enjoy all the benefits that this country, that this community gives us, we have to pay back. And I always tell people, hey, we're here because somebody helped us. So it's our responsibility now to turn around and help the next generation and help them up the stairs like somebody helped us climb the stairs of life.
Thank you. Thank you. That's great. I'm going to ask you one last question that is not necessarily part of the talking points. What is one spot, one historical spot in Tampa that you believe students should visit and learn the history about?
Well, that's the most difficult question you asked me, because Tampa has so many of these spots that reflect a great heritage, a great legacy that has been left to us. I happen to enjoy the different mutual aid societies, like we have the Cuban Club building, the Centro Español building, the Centro Asturiano building, the Italian Club building, the Martí Maceo Club building. All of those clubs are more than 100 years old, and they were formed by white and black citizens that primarily they were foreigners, they were immigrants. The Cuban and the Spanish, white and black, spoke Spanish, but we had a large Italian and Sicilian group, and they mixed very well. I doubt that there's a single family in Tampa, a Latin family in Tampa, that doesn't have some Cuban, Spanish, Italian mixture there.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. I still have to visit a couple of those. They're still on my list. So thank you so much.
And they are all on the National Registry of Historic Buildings.
Oh, fantastic. That's great to know. So now we'd like to open it up. If you don't have additional comments, I'd like to open it up to the audience to ask you some questions of their own to help learn a little bit more. So if we can take a couple questions from the audience, that would be fantastic. All right. Oh, we have one question here. So tell us about your college experience.
Tell me again what?
Tell us about your college experience. What was that like?
My childhood was, my college experience was a very interesting experience for me, because I didn't go to high school in Tampa. I followed in my cousin's footsteps, and I went to a military academy. So for 3 years, I was in a very disciplined, regimented military environment, very strict with military tradition and studying. So when I got to college, I was already a pretty good student, and I knew how to conduct myself. I had been living away from home at that military academy for 3 years. So when I got to college, I developed into a pretty good student. I was involved in different honor societies. And as a result, my professors helped me a lot, guided me a lot, urged me to become a lawyer, and gave me a very good education. I think that there's no one in the world that owes more to more people who helped me along than anybody else. I think I'm the luckiest guy in the world, because I had so many people, teachers especially. God bless the teachers. The teachers inspire you, the teachers guide you. And I'm a better person because of the good teachers that I had in my life.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, how about our next question? What words of encouragement would you provide a newly arrived immigrant student who feels he or she will never live up to all the challenges they may face as they acclimate to their new environment while holding on to their own heritage and culture?
Well, the most important thing that I tell all the immigrants with whom I come in contact, especially as a judge. I get invited to give the welcome address to many naturalization proceedings, foreigners that take the naturalization test to become American citizens. And I'm there when they take their oath of allegiance as American citizens. I always tell all the immigrants, young and old, make sure you learn English. Learn English well. The sooner you master English, the sooner you're going to succeed in this country. So the very first thing is, this is primarily an English-speaking nation. So learn English and then learn the ropes. Live within the law. There is right and wrong. You must live within those two boundaries and never fall on the other side. Never violate the law. Always live your life in an honest, honorable manner. If you play ball, you've got to learn the rules of the game. In life, you have to learn the rules. We call them laws, others call them commandments, others call them orders, but those are the boundaries that you must learn to live in and develop. So learn the law, stay within the law, follow the rules, and always do the right thing. You will be tempted to fall by the wayside and cheat and get away with something. Resist that temptation. Stay within the boundaries of what is proper, what is acceptable conduct, what is acceptable behavior. When you do that, you get into the American way of life and you succeed faster and you attain recognition from all the community. That's a good citizen. That's a good person. That's an honorable person. That's something to live up to. Be honorable. Do the right thing.
Thank you. Our next question is, did you experience prejudice throughout your life because of your cultural background, and how did you deal with that?
Yes, I must confess that there is prejudice, there is bigotry. There are people that because you speak with an accent, perhaps because you don't act or you don't dress like the people next to you or whatever, they may hold it against you, but you have to go above that. You have to work harder. If they work 8 hours a day, you work 10. You put in a greater effort. So face reality that in life, we're not all the same. Some of us do this, some of us do that, but we have to live within the established framework of what is proper, what is acceptable, and what is not acceptable, and what is not lawful. So you stay within those boundaries and you can overcome the prejudice or bigotry that may exist by conducting yourself better than they, so that they look to you as a good example.
Thank you. Our next question is, how do Ybor City and West Tampa and their historical value figure in the development of Tampa?
You cannot write the history of Tampa without many pages to Ybor City and West Tampa. And you can't write the history of Ybor City and West Tampa without recognizing the great contribution that the immigrants gave to this community. This community really, going back to the early port of Tampa, became the Ellis Island of Florida. So many immigrants came in and lived in West Tampa and Ybor City, and they are the ones that brought more than 200 cigar factories and the employees. And with the cigar factories that made cigars, there were cigar box factories. And then we had a large colony of Germans who were experts in lithography, and they would make the labels that went on these cigar boxes. And today, those cigar labels are worth a lot of money because of the great artisan ability of those artists that put together the gold and the green and the yellow and the red, and they would make the cigar boxes more attractive to the person that was going to buy a cigar. So we in West Tampa and Ybor City got to have more than 200 cigar factories that were producing more than 1 million cigars a day.
Wow.
1 million cigars a day. That was 365 million cigars a year. And all those boxes went all over the United States, and it said, made in Tampa.
Wow. Wow. Well, thank you so much. We don't have any more questions from the audience. Thank you to all the participants who are with us today. Thank you so much, Judge Salcines. I think the conversation that you just shared with us and sharing your history with us is so valuable for all of us. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for being the role model that you are to all of us Latinos. And so I just want to thank you so much for your time again. If we don't have any other questions, is there anything that you would like to say in Spanish to our Spanish-speaking students who are going to be listening to this?
Lo mejor que pueden hacer es siempre estar orgullosos de quiénes son ustedes. Tenemos una rica herencia. Aprende y mantiene tu idioma español al mismo tiempo que estás aprendiendo el inglés, porque con esos dos idiomas te vas a abrir muchas puertas en el futuro y te va a beneficiar para tu familia. Así que aprende inglés, pero no te olvides de tu idioma y quién tú eres y de dónde vienes, y estar orgulloso de quién tú eres.
Muchas gracias. Thank you so much again. Our final announcement is that next week we will also have a guest speaker with us. And the guest speaker is going to be our senior advisor for the White House, Emmanuel Caudillo. I hope you can join us, Judge Salcines, if you have time. And thank you so much for everyone participating, and we'll see you next week. Thank you so much. Hasta la próxima.